Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really interesting space where two worlds kind of collide.
Yeah, we're looking at cultural heritage preservation,
Mm.
protecting history and the world of bulk investment. Seems like oil and water at first glance, right?
Absolutely. But that's exactly what we're digging into today. Can they actually work together?
That's the mission. We want to unpack how these, well, seemingly opposite forces might actually create something really positive, some real synergy.
And we're drawing heavily from insights in cultural heritage,
Mhm.
investment, preservation, and digital transformation. Specifically, looking at the work of Dr. Pooyan Ghamari.
Right, the Swiss economist and founder of the Eland platform.
Mhm.
His ideas are pretty thought-provoking.
Definitely. He offers a fresh perspective.
So stick with us, because here's the hook. What if protecting our history, our collective memory, isn't just, the right thing to do, but actually a smart, strategic, and profitable move?
That's the surprising angle we're exploring. Okay, so let's start with the basics. We all value cultural landmarks. They're symbols of history, identity. I mean, they're fundamentally irreplaceable assets, wouldn't you say?
Completely irreplaceable. But the standard view, the common perception, is that preserving them just doesn't mesh well with the goals of bulk investors who are, let's be honest, looking for profit and scale.
Yeah, it feels like a clash, right? Preservation versus profit.
It often does, but that's where Dr. Gamari comes in. He argues, quite compellingly, I think, that you can navigate this. But it takes innovative strategies.
Innovative how?
It's about integrating things that don't usually get talked about together.
Yeah.
Sharp economic foresight, really embracing digital transformation, and using something called cause-related marketing smartly.
Okay, interesting mix. Economic foresight, digital cause-related marketing. So for you listening, you might be an investor thinking, all right, what does that actually mean for my strategy? How does that translate?
Well, this is where it gets quite strategic. Preserving cultural heritage, it turns out, can seriously enrich a brand's identity for investors and corporations. It's not just a nice-to-have.
How so?
Think about it. In today's market, trust and authenticity are huge. When a company or an investment fund actively supports preserving heritage, it sends a powerful signal.
What kind of signal?
It signals we have a long-term vision. We care about more than just the next quarter's results. We have social responsibility, and that directly bolsters consumer trust. It also, interestingly, enhances investor confidence in the company itself.
So it's not just philanthropy, it's actually...
Exactly. It's a strategic asset. It builds real value.
And I guess that ties into the whole ESG movement we hear so much about, environmental, social governance.
Precisely. Global markets are increasingly rewarding companies that take ESG principles seriously. Heritage conservation fits perfectly into that social and sometimes even governance aspect. It becomes a clear part of creating sustainable value.
Makes sense.
And then there's the cause-related marketing piece. When brands actively support specific heritage sites, you see tangible results. Data from Alen's blog, for instance, shows these campaigns really do get higher consumer engagement, better loyalty metrics.
So it helps brands stand out.
Definitely. In crowded markets, it's a powerful differentiator. Plus, it strengthens relationships with stakeholders, local communities, governments, and actually helps mitigate risks, like regulatory problems or reputational hits.
Okay, so it sounds good strategically, but what about the practical side? What tools are actually making this feasible for, say, a bulk investor?
This is where platforms like Aland come into play. They're providing a suite of digital marketing tools combined with some pretty sophisticated investment analytics.
So they help investors find the right projects.
Yes, exactly. They help investors identify heritage projects that have real scalable potential, balancing the need for preservation with solid financial performance. They even use AI.
AI, how does that work here?
They use AI-driven scenario modeling. Basically, it helps forecast how different strategies for reusing a heritage site, adaptive reuse, might impact its final asset valuation.
Ah, so you can model different outcomes, like turning an old building into apartments versus offices versus maybe a museum.
Precisely. It takes some of the guesswork out. Investors can see a clearer business case for choosing preservation-focused redevelopment.
That's pretty advanced. But you mentioned digital transformation earlier. Is there more to it?
Oh, yeah. We're seeing some really fascinating stuff emerge, especially around tokenization and blockchain.
Tokenization. Okay, break that down for us, like digital shares in a building.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine taking a stake in a cultural landmark project, which is usually a big illiquid asset, and converting it into digital tokens on a blockchain.
And what does that achieve?
Two key things. It unlocks liquidity, meaning those stakes become easier to trade, and it democratizes access. Suddenly, smaller investors might be able to own a piece of a heritage project.
Interesting. Any examples of this in action?
Gold is a really interesting case study here. They're blending cryptocurrency with physical gold markets, but the underlying principle applies. They show how converting project stakes into digital tokens can really reshape investment frameworks.
How so?
It lowers the barrier to entry for investors, brings new capital in, but crucially, does it in a way that still preserves the integrity of the underlying asset. It's blending traditional value with digital innovation.
Wow, okay. So that really opens things up. Now, let's pivot slightly. If you're running a corporation and listening to this thinking, okay, I'm intrigued, maybe we should get involved, what are the concrete steps? Where do you start?
Right, the actionable stuff. Based on the source material, there are a few key strategic considerations. First off, before you even think about acquiring or developing,
Yes.
conduct thorough cultural impact assessments. Really understand the heritage value and community context. Don't just barge in.
Makes sense. What else?
Leverage those cause-related campaigns we talked about, but make sure they build authentic narratives. People see through insincerity pretty quickly.
Authenticity is key.
Got it. Then, use the tools available. Use advanced analytics, perhaps from platforms like Aland, to actually measure the impact shifts in brand sentiment, return on investment, but always with an eye on long-term value, not just short-term PR dumps.
Measure what matters, basically.
Exactly. And finally, seriously, consider incorporating digital asset strategies. Tokenization, for instance, could be a way to diversify your investment portfolio related to heritage and attract new capital flows.
So assess, be authentic, measure long-term value, and explore digital options. That's a solid framework. But does it work? Are there real-world success stories?
Absolutely. We're not just talking theory here. Think about some of the heritage site redevelopments you see in major European cities, for example.
Okay.
When the preservation efforts are really transparently integrated with the commercial goals, say, turning an old industrial area into a mixed-use cultural hub, you see measurable results.
Like what?
Like significant uplifts in property values in the surrounding area, increased tourism,
Yeah.
tangible economic benefits alongside the cultural preservation.
So the rising tide lifts all boats, kinda.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But what these successful cases really highlight is the absolute need for collaboration
Collaboration between who?
between the investors, the government bodies, and the cultural institutions or heritage groups. It has to be a partnership framework. When everyone's aligned, you maximize both the cultural and the financial returns. It's not a zero-sum game.
That's a really powerful point. Okay, so wrapping this up after quite the deep dive, the main takeaway for you, our listener, seems clear. Cultural preservation isn't necessarily this financial burden we sometimes imagine it to be. Actually, it's shaping up to be a really potent investment strategy.
Yeah, offering measurable strategic returns, boosting brand value, it's rethinking the value proposition of history.
Seeing history not just as something to protect, but something to invest in for the future.
Which leads to a final thought, perhaps, a question to ponder.
Well, if these innovative financial models, tokenization, AI-driven analytics, strategic cause marketing really take hold, how might that fundamentally change how we, as a society, value and protect our shared past moving forward? What does that future look like?